Here we are again, the Animal Stories News Team Anchorman. Here's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Lair. And there's him, in person.
Hi.
Little snot-nosed Tommy. Hi, Tommy.
Hi, Uncle Lair. Hi, everybody.
According to police in Willenhall, England, a horse-drawn cart of scrap drew up behind a motorcyclist at a railroad crossing gate, which was down to allow a train to pass. The horse proceeded to drool on the cyclist. Here's some biker, little Tommy, sitting there on his big Harley, minding his own business, waiting for this train to go by. Horse pulls up, starts drooling. So he got mad, it says here. Gave the horse his best elbow shot right to the horse's face. Well, but in the process, when he lifted up his arm to give this horse an elbow shot, he let go of his clutch. And his motorcycle lurched forward, little Tommy, into the car in front of him. Meanwhile, the horse, who has just been punched in the face, rears up, dumps the load of scrap onto the car behind, which rolled backwards under the weight and rammed the front of yet another car on the line. Now, seeing this chain reaction, a passing dog walker tied his terrier to the railroad gate and went to help out. But the train had passed, and the gate went up, pulling the dog 20 feet into the air. By his neck. See, the dog's owner shouted to another pedestrian to lower the gate, which came down on and damaged the roof of a passing Mercedes-Benz.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how it doesn't say how the dog is. I suppose it would depend on which side of the gate he was tied to. If he was on the side that came crashing down to the Mercedes-Benz, the dog probably not going to be okay.
New ornament, yeah. Biker all right?
Biker's fine, little Tommy.
How about the horse?
Horse is fine as well.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm. I was reading this article in the news about attacking guard dogs that work for the Department of Defense. They got a lot of them. They got about 2,400 dogs that work for the government. They sniff out bombs, of course, and they patrol Air Force, Army, Navy, and Marine bases to attack commies who try to sneak on the base.
Yeah?
As well as government agencies like the FAA and the U.S. Border Patrol. They train them to eat illegal aliens. Says here, little Tommy, they test thousands of dogs. Most of them just can't cut it. Only about 17% qualify to be a U.S. government attack dog. Says they are tested for, when they get a new dog, they test it for maturity and aggressiveness in a variety of ways. And the first thing they look for, this is the most important, first thing they look for in a male dog is his urination pattern. Says here, little Tommy.
What do you mean?
Well, when a dog reaches a year old, if he is given the opportunity to urinate on a pole or a fence, but he still squats, it shows immaturity, and he is therefore unacceptable. So, if they get a squatter, they just wash him right out. They think he's some sort of wimp dog who probably eats quiche.
Yeah?
But if they lift that leg up there and let fly, he's a born killer.
Oh, wow. What else do they look for?
I don't know. I don't care. Imagine the poor soldier, though, who gets that kind of duty. He's assigned to that test. Has to stand around all day and watch
with the
dogs.
Clipboard, yeah.
Watch, study urination patterns. How depressing.
Have a nice day today, honey.
What did you do during the war, Daddy? I watched dogs whiz. This happened on 7th Avenue in Aurora, little Tommy. Headline here says, slaughter on 7th Avenue. I'll just read this here, the way it's written in the paper. A 39-year-old Aurora man was charged Monday with violating a city code against slaughtering a farm animal in the city. Police said the man killed a sheep in his front yard and was skinning it when police were called.
Oh, my gosh.
The man told police that he had bought the animal from a Yorkville farmer and was butchering it for his own use. Police were called by neighbors who said the act was upsetting their children.
What'd they do to him?
Well, they just,
Gave him a ticket?
They confiscated the carcass of the late sheep and took it to the city's animal control officer to be disposed of or to be properly butchered, it says here.
Yeah.
And he's been charged with violating the city code against slaughtering sheep in the city. So, you people in Aurora, just another one of your many freedoms that's being taken away from you. And, of course, that kind of activity in the neighborhood certainly wouldn't do property values any good, little Tommy. You can imagine some poor real estate agent driving down that street with a prospective home buyer, and here's some guy with his shirt off on the front lawn butchering a sheep. And he's saying, oh, well, this is really a nice neighborhood. Nice people, friendly. This is something that was sent to us by, her name is Val Kilcury. She works for an advertising agency here in Chicago, Darcy McManus.
Oh, big one, yeah.
Mm-hmm. She sent me a thing here. She Xeroxed this out of D Magazine. That's a magazine they have in Dallas. It's like Chicago Magazine, only they call it D for, like Big D.
I get it.
And this article here about lyrics in country and western songs. They got some real interesting lyrics in cowboy songs. Most of them are drinking and cheating songs, the kind you hear in pickup bars and pickup trucks.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody made a collection of just, weird lines in country songs, and they printed them all. There's several hundred of them here. Title of this article, and I guess this is a line from some country and western song, is, I don't know whether to kill myself or go bowling. So I just circled some of these I've heard of, few of them, but most of them I never heard the songs before. Here's a line from a song. It took a hell of a man to take my Ann, but it sure didn't take him long.
I like that, yeah.
She ain't much to see, but she looks good through the bottom of a glass.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one. That's a good one.
I wouldn't take you to a dogfight, even if I thought you could win. Don't cry down my back, baby. You might rust my spurs. If fingerprints showed up on skin, I wonder whose I'd find on you. Here's a good one. If you get the feeling that I don't love you, feel again. Here's one. Obviously, there's some guy singing this song, and he's in some cheap floozy's bedroom at the time. I'm ashamed to be here, but not ashamed enough to leave. That kind of sums up our situation here at WLS, too. Ashamed to be here, but not ashamed enough to leave. We'll just take the money. Thank you. I've been flushed from the bathroom of your hearts.
Oh, I want to hear it.
Okay, you really wonder about guys who write lyrics like this,
Sure.
how much drinking they've been doing. It's the bottle against the Bible and the battle for Daddy's soul. Here's one I really like. It's commode huggin' time in the valley. If you want to keep the beer real cold, put it next to my ex-wife's heart. My wife ran off with my best friend, and I miss him. Oh, I wish we could play some of those songs.
Oh.
Here's a letter. Dear Uncle Lara and Lil Tommy, due to personal tragedy and heartbreak, I have not filed a report in over 2 years. 2 gut-wrenching years, which became a nightmare for me when I lost my wife, kids, house, car, and Sears Mediterranean-style TV set.
Oh, sounds like a nightmare.
Sounds like she got the gold mine, he got the shaft. I've meant to write to you, however, with the lure of bright lights, demon alcohol, and a constant parade of floozies, I'm having the time of my life. But that's no excuse to turn my back on the 2 guys who made me a star back in the days when I still had an AM/FM digital clock radio with snooze alarm. With this in mind, I humbly and respectfully submit this report from the October 12 issue of the Weekly World News. That's one of those tabloids at the grocery.
Oh, guys, he working for them now?
Check out. Shark experts say here that most shark attacks are a case of mistaken identity. They note that seldom do sharks bite more than once, which would be an indication that sharks do not like human flesh. And they say in most instances the indications are that part of the body, such as a hand or a foot, is mistaken for a fish. I certainly hope, Lil Tommy, that if I'm ever down there in Florida surfing and some shark mistakes some dangling part of my body for a fish, I sure hope it's my hand or foot. Dear Uncle Lara and Lil Tommy, after a recent snowstorm in the Chicago area, a friend of mine accidentally discovered an unusual method of removing dog waste. Being a rather lazy individual, he hadn't cleaned up his yard all winter, and with the new snow covering everything, probably the least likely thing to be in his mind when he got out his snowblower was dog waste. Well, needless to say, he was somewhat startled when he heard this clattering noise coming from the machine, and then, to his horror, saw this frozen dog do hurtling onto his neighbor's roof. He immediately turned off the snowblower, and then, having recovered from the initial shock and inspired by the fact that his neighbor had ripped him off for $20 last summer, proceeded to turn the blower back on and gleefully aim the rest of his dog's frozen droppings in the direction of the first one. My friend is now eagerly awaiting the big thaw and anticipating his neighbor's amazement when he investigates the source of the foul odor, climbs up to his roof to discover all of this dog mess quietly steaming in the warm spring sunshine, and wondering what on earth kind of animal climbs up onto his roof to relieve itself.
Oh, I love it.
Well, here's one more story about a guy in New York who's got a service going for husbands. It's called Rent a Sheep. Now, this is for lazy husbands who are too lazy to mow their lawns.
Oh, yeah?
Little Tommy.
Oh, it's for lawns?
It's a good deal. He will rent you a sheep for the whole summer to mow your lawn and whatever else you wanted
Yeah.
to do for $35.
It's not called You Rent All, is it?
No.
Oh.
No. Got a couple of interesting country and western song titles in the mail here.
Oh, yeah?
Don't cut any wood, baby, 'cause I'll be coming home with a load. I loved her face, but I left her behind for you.
I like those.
Yeah, those
Sound
are
like
good.
hits to me.
Don't cut any wood, baby, 'cause I'm coming home with a load. Here's a story about a guy who went to the zoo in Omaha, Nebraska. Well, Tommy, he was just standing there looking at the elephants. And some big stud elephant in the pen there apparently didn't like the guy's looks. Picked up a big rock with his trunk. Little Tommy, a rock was about the size of a brick. Threw it at the guy, hit him right in the head. Fractured his skull.
Oh, no. Is he making faces at the elephants?
I don't know, but now he's suing the zoo for zillions of dollars, claiming negligence on their part for letting one of their elephants throw a rock at him.
Didn't he see it coming? Couldn't he get out of the way? Oh, is he going to be all right?
Yeah, he's going to be fine, little Tommy. Elephant must have good speed, along with being a good shot. Guy didn't even have time to duck.
Yeah.
Here's a love story concerning some giraffes at the zoo in Portland, Oregon. They had a big stud giraffe named Jigsaw and a female giraffe named Puzzle.
Oh, Jigsaw and Puzzle.
Yeah, they were lovers. But then Jigsaw, he died back in '75. And Puzzle been without male companionship, for the last 7 years. So you can imagine how up for it she was. Well, finally the day came, little Tommy. They imported a stud giraffe from Dallas, Texas.
What was his name?
I like this name for a giraffe. His name was Stretch.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Puzzle, she was all excited about it. They ran him into her pen. He snorted, pawed the ground, and then promptly knelt down and tried to nurse from her. Little problem they have there with with Stretch. He doesn't seem to get the drift of just exactly what his function is supposed to be at the zoo.
Kind of a mama's boy, huh?
Yeah. Here's a letter from the Indiana Department of Correction.
Oh, my gosh.
Youth camp there. He writes, Dear Uncle Larry and Little Tommy, this article enclosed isn't even newsworthy, but then again, few things in the Terre Haute Star are. He said in this stupid animal story, and he's right, it's not even interesting enough to read. It's just that I've longed for so long to send something, anything, to your award-winning program. You can probably imagine how difficult it is to adequately cover the animal news from my location. I know this article leaves everything to be desired, but please keep in mind that my efforts to provide more interesting articles are hampered by considerations beyond my control.
What's he doing time for, do you know?
Yeah, we get a lot of letters from people in prisons, and they never say what they're up for.
They're probably embarrassed.
Let us know what you're in there for. How come you're paying your debt to society?
And if you were framed or not.
And why you're behind bars where you belong. Keep those letters coming. We're your friends. It's a good idea to be nice to these guys, because eventually they may get out.
Yeah.
And come after you if you're not nice to them. Hearing the story the other day about the rock-throwing elephant prompts me to share with you my encounter at the zoo with the flinging baboon.
Oh, gee.
While visiting the Phoenix Zoo, we strolled up to the baboon pit. Other than the baboons, my wife, son, and myself, the only other living nearby creatures were a group of tourists of indiscriminate origin, taking turns photographing one another in front of the baboon pit. One of the baboons, whom I have nicknamed Dr. Skyhook for reasons which shall become apparent, proceeded to defecate into his left hand, then with a look of disdain only a baboon can affect, sent his malodorous parcel in a graceful hook shot toward the babbling tourists. The tourists watched with childlike fascination as the baboon droppings arced gracefully over the bars and into their midst, and not unlike an MX missile, the parcel broke up into several separate projectiles, allowing several of the tourists to be pelted simultaneously.
Wow.
So far as I know, no lawsuits have resulted, although we did not stay at the scene much longer, since Dr. Skyhook began to assemble earlier droppings for additional ammo.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Oh, here's a real bizarre story about a rhinoceros, little Tommy, sent to us by some guy named Rick something. Cut this out of the Washington, D.C. Post. Well, they were shipping this big 1,200-pound rhinoceros from Florida to an amusement park in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
There's a female white rhino. It's a 20-hour truck ride. This rhino, little Tommy, and they got her there in Washington, D.C. and opened up the crate. There she was, laying there unconscious, suffering from respiratory ailments and had a broken horn on her head there.
Oh, no. What happened?
Well, it turned out somebody made a mistake when they... Somebody had made a mistake, little Tommy, when they'd loaded her up down there on the truck down in Florida and accidentally loaded the crate on the truck upside down. So this poor rhino rode for 20 hours on the back of a truck in a crate that was upside down. Of course, she had a lot of trouble breathing there, and that's why she was unconscious and had these respiratory problems.
Yeah?
And that's how her horn got broke, probably from her head just banging. Help! So, they opened up the crate at Washington, D.C. when she finally got there, and there she is there upside down, so... they got her turned over.
Oh,
and
good.
After a while, she regained consciousness and promptly charged, attacked two of the employees of the amusement park. She was rampaging around there trying to kill everybody in sight, little Tommy. They got a tranquilizer dart gun out. Let her have it. and then, well, they must have put too much tranquilizer in the dart, little Tommy, because she died. Indeed, a tragic tale. Well, Tommy and I, as you can tell, are overcome with emotion here, and we'll be resuming animal news as soon as we regain our composure. And I think it's coming back now, even as I speak.